Hello, Master Sonal here. Basically, we are discussing another topic that is city creation. City creation, basically, we are discussing topic that is vitamins creation. In this, basically, we are going to talk about two topics. That is, first is the birth process, and second is the blood groups data. Honors. So, assume that basically there are 22 blood groups data. Basically, so there are 22 blood groups data. So one of the person told that basically there are 22 blood groups data basically who basically are doing the process. So they told that basically there are 22 blood groups data. They are basically doing the process. So one of the person told that this how basically it is mapping basically. So the government basically allocates the money to particular blood group. Assume that is there are 22 blood groups. So 22 blood groups data basically are allocated. In this basically what are the things basically allocated? So in 22 blood group basically we will see that how many data basically are allocated. So this is very dangerous topic basically. Army groups, currencies, total currency going to print for total currency going to print basically going to print for blood cells group. Then basically army groups basically we have already taken. Then basically total people going to join this blood cells group. Then basically it is maximum minimum temperature of each blood cells group. This connects to thinking. So just see basically up to what level things are basically connected. Then basically this is about blood group data. Then basically it comes to birth process of one jodi. Here basically what are the things basically connected? Here one of the person told that basically here basically the data is first basically the blood cells basically are created, right? Basically the blood cells basically are created. First basically the blood cells are created. Blood cells are created, then basically the blood cells do the process. Then expenses for this blood cells data. Then basically the future human souls expenses. Then basically the future human souls, that means two human souls will be there basically in which is going to attract basically. That basically we will discuss in detail basically. Then basically the future plans of each families. Family. Families basically. Families means this two persons family basically. And the design in which this jodi is allocated. So this is just stuff basically, which is basically we are discussing here. So first we are going to discuss that blood group basically. If blood group basically is what are the benefits of the blood group basically? So in this world basically there are many armies basically, right? So one of the person told that A blood group is there, C blood group is there, D blood group is there, E is G, like this basically many blood groups are there. So each blood group basically have army basically allocated to that group basically. So for example A blood group is there. So A blood group basically is going to get secure by which army group? It can be any army group basically. And blood group basically are connected with the across the world basically. So army groups are also connected with the world basically. For example, A blood group basically 15 or 16 basically army groups are basically created for this A blood group. So this A blood group basically assume that basically he is basically owner of India basically. Owner of India means the blood group basically is basically from the Indian origin basically. So his main army group basically will be India, and the Indian army groups basically are going to create their chains basically. For example, around 10 crore people basically are there in USA of A blood group. So for 10 crore people basically the army groups are going to create basically by this Indian army group basically. So for that expense also basically are there basically. So that basically the visa group basically decides basically. So just see the visa process is also up to what level basically. The people basically is getting the visa basically. First they checks basically the army groups are allocated for that particular blood group or not basically. So just see basically. So this everything basically comes into the picture. That's why basically the new blood group, whenever the new blood group is going to come basically, they basically finish that blood group's generation only, because there are lots of expense basically. So in that basically lots of expense basically the 22 blood group basically finish that particular person's generation only basically. So when basically his next generation will not happen, then basically he will automatically will die after certain years basically, and then basically that people basically who were allocated to 23rd number blood group basically, they will automatically get shift to the 22 blood group basically. So just see basically up to what, if basically new blood groups are created basically, up to what level basically the things basically has to be created basically. Then basically the total currency basically, for example the army groups and the 10 crore people basically are allocated for that basically, money is required basically. So that basically the currency department prints the money basically. So just see basically it's not so easy basically to create the blood group owner also basically. The people going to join these blood groups basically, so that basically decide on the base of the thinking basically, how they are thinking basically. So according to that thinking basically they joins the blood group basically. Then basically the maximum and minimum temperature. Assume that basically in A blood group basically there is one blood cells basically called mathematics blood, or basically the English blood cells. So they are going to think up to what level basically. That is basically decided by the minimum blood cells and the maximum temperature blood cells basically. So this is about the blood cells group basically, and that is very dangerous thing basically. So lots of expense basically are there basically. To maintain the blood group basically there are lots of expense basically. So in next video basically we are going to see about the Jodi birth process basically.